Have you ever tried to develop a new habit and had difficulties? You ask yourself, why don't I do what I say I'm going to do? Why do I say something is important, but I never seem to make the time for it? Why don't I lose weight, quit smoking, save for retirement, or start that business I want so much? But what if the way to build a habit relies more on a method instead of other characteristics like willpower, discipline, and self-control? In today's video, we will cover 4 steps that can help us build good habits, and it will be based on James Clear's book, Atomic Habits. Hey guys, Yamane Brian here, and welcome to Pratical Knowledge. The goal of the book Atomic Habits is to share a step-by-step plan for building better habits, not for days or weeks, but for a lifetime. But first, we need to understand how a habit is formed. Whenever we encounter a new situation in life, our brain must make a decision. How do I respond to this? So, the first time we come across a problem, we are not sure how to solve it. For example, when we are going to learn how to drive, in the beginning there is a series of processes that we not only have to perform, but also they have an order of execution, a sequence for each one to happen. Once we start to make a few attempts to solve that situation, our brain becomes to be a prediction machine. You are feeling anxious and find that running calms you down. You are mentally exhausted after a long day at work and find that eating something, watching TV, or playing video games relaxes you. You enter into this discovery process and earn rewards, as if your brain creates a catalog of events that precedes the reward. And then every time you deal with a similar situation, you will tend to repeat what worked and avoid what didn't. In that how to drive example, you discover that if you try to shift gears without stepping on the clutch pedal, it will be a problem. This is the feedback loop behind all human behavior. Try, fail, learn, and try differently. This is how a habit is formed. But what if you want to introduce a new habit like starting to play sports, reading or studying more, change the way we deal with our financial life? What can we do? This is where the author brings us his 4-step model of habits, which are cue, craving, response, and reward. Before we go there, if you have liked this video so far, I ask you to hit the like button, so in this way you help us to continue making more videos like this. And if you are not subscribed yet, I invite you to be part of our community by clicking on subscribe button. Okay, let's go back to talk about the cue. It's everything that triggers our brain to initiate a certain behavior. This includes everything from feeling hungry or thirsty to watching a TV commercial or something sponsored on Instagram. It's basically information that predicts a reward. So, one of the ways you have to insert a new habit is to surround yourself with certain stimuli that will drive you to that habit. If you want to take care of your health, it is not only worth not buying certain foods to have at home, but it's also worth working on your environment to get you closer to your goal. You can consult a professional, do your own research about the subject, watch more videos that show the benefits and strategies to take care of your health, talk with people who are looking for the same goal as you are, and so on. In short, take care of your surroundings in a way that they help you to achieve what you want. And that goes the other way around too. I mean, when you want to avoid a bad habit. This is the part of the book where the author brings us the idea of consciousness and unconsciousness of our reactions due to the cues. There are certain cues that we simply respond to automatically. For example, when a person is under a lot of stress and ends up taking it out on food or spending money, or when we receive a notification on our phones, the tendency is already to pick up the device and we become distracted from what we are doing. So one of the ways to avoid a bad habit is first, try to make these responses conscious, which means that you must identify what kind of situation triggers the behavior you don't want to have. And the second step is to avoid or reduce as much as you can the cue that leads to that habit. I'll talk more about this topic in this other video called How to Be More Disciplined, also from Atomic Habits. Well, the cue is the first notification that we are close to a reward. It naturally leads to the second stage, which is craving. Crave is the motivational force behind every habit. Without craving something, we have no reason to act because, as the author says, What you crave is not the habit itself, but the change in state it delivers. Many times, we keep a certain habit just because of the benefit it brings, not necessarily because we like it. You might be trying to save more money, for example, but there are certain expenses you are going to make because they bring you some kind of relief. Or you would like to spend less time on social media, but they bring entertainment, so you end up spending a lot of time there. So how can we apply the same behavior to a good habit? One way to make a habit more attractive is to see the benefits it brings. If you want to insert an exercise routine in your life, instead of thinking about all the effort and tiredness that a workout generates, the idea is to think about the benefits that physical activity can bring, such as having more health, losing weight, gaining muscles. So in this way, you make the habit more delightful and desirable. Likewise, if you are trying to break a certain habit, the idea is to make it as unattractive and uninteresting as possible. You can think about the results this certain habit will bring in the long run. For example, for some people, smoking can help them to relieve stress almost immediately, but it's not something that assures a long and healthy future, right? But practicing physical activity can bring the same relief, and you get even a bonus on your health. From craving, we go to the response. The response is the real habit. It's the practice part. We were stimulated by the cues, we have the desire, and now it's time to go for action. This response happens or not, depending on how much we are willing to perform an action and how much friction, how much resistance there is to perform it. This is the difficulty behind a diet program, to be more diligent on our finances or to start a study routine. If a particular activity requires more physical or mental efforts than we are willing to spend, the chances of not doing it are very high. Conversely, habits like scrolling on our phones, checking email, or watching television steal so much of our time because they can be performed almost without effort. They are remarkably convenient. So the strategy here is to create a situation where doing the right thing is as easy as possible. Every action requires a certain amount of energy. The more energy required, the less likely it is to occur. If your goal is to do 100 push-ups per day, that's a lot of energy. In the beginning, when you are motivated and excited, you can muster the strength to get started. But after a few days, such a massive effort feels exhausting. Meanwhile, sticking to a habit of doing one push-up per day, for example, requires almost no energy to get started. And the less energy a habit requires, the more likely it is to occur. Starting to read a book seems to be very difficult when you are not used to. But reading one page a day is easier, or you can set a timer to 5 minutes and read during that time. At the end of the 5 minutes, you see that this is very little and very easy to do. And as you repeat this routine, the more it becomes natural. And the tendency is you devoting more time to something that you are enjoying. We rarely think about change this way because everyone's consumed by the end goal. But one push-up is better than not exercising, and 5 minutes of reading is better than ever picking up a book. It's better to do less than you expected, harder than do nothing at all. This is why the author says in the book, if you want to master a habit, the key is to start with repetition, not perfection. It is more effective for you to practice a certain activity constantly, even if it's not necessarily the way you idealized, because by doing this, you are reinforcing the identity you want to become. Finally, due to the response, we get a reward. Rewards are the end goal of every habit. The cue is about noticing the reward, the craving is about wanting the reward, and the response is about obtaining the reward. We chase rewards because they serve two purposes. The first one is to satisfy our craving. Yes, rewards provide benefits on their own. Food and water deliver the energy we need to survive. Getting a promotion brings more money and respect. Getting in shape improves our health and self-confidence. At least for a moment, rewards deliver contentment and relief. Second, rewards teach us which actions are worth remembering in the future. Our brain is a reward detector. Feelings of pleasure and disappointment are part of this feedback mechanism that helps our brain distinguishing useful actions from useless ones. Generally speaking, what is rewarded is repeated and what is punished is avoided. Rewards close the feedback loop and complete the habit cycle. And according to the author, we need to look at this process as a whole. Because if behavior is insufficient in any of the four stages, it will not become a habit. Eliminate the cue and our habit will never start. Reduce the craving and we won't experience enough motivation to act. Make the behavior difficult and we don't be able to do it. And if the reward fails to satisfy our desire, then we will have no reason to do it again in the future. Without the first three steps, a behavior will not occur. Without all four, a behavior will not be repeated. Also, it's good to remember that even if you manage to begin the cycle of habits and for some reason you're interrupted, that diet cheat, that lazy day, etc., the author has an interesting thought. The first mistake is never the one that ruins you. It is the spiral of repeated mistakes that follows. Missing once is an accident. Missing twice is the start of a new habit. I invite you to comment on which part of this video resonated with you. If you found this video relevant, please share it with the people you think it will be useful. And I will leave you with 2 more videos for you to know more about our channel.